from this side.
Yeah, of course.
So here we go. Yeah, James. James and I, we joined the Comic Academy last year, so we are academy buddies, so to speak. And yeah, we planned it for a long time to have a stream together, talk about some comic stuff and academy stuff, and yeah. So maybe you might,
You
uh, just for those who listen, you might want to
introduce myself?
tell something
Yeah,
about you.
sure.
Yeah, a little
Sure, I'll do a
bit.
little introduction. Thank you, Edge. So
Awesome.
my name is James Fondren, and I have a channel on YouTube called Acadian Comics. But I'm also on Twitter and X under the same handle, Acadian Comics. And like Edge said, we both enrolled in the How to Draw Comics Academy, which was created by Clayton Barton. You may know Clayton from various different properties. He has an extensive education background where he has taught art at a professional level for probably decades at this point. But his I think his self-published comic is Kozor, and it's crazy because I've
Yes.
reached out to Clayton and I've even mentioned it in our like live streams. I've said, "Hey Clayton, I'd really like to get a copy of Kozor, but there's just none to be found." So apparently it's very rare. And I know that they're doing another Clayton and his brother Corey Barton. They're doing another comic. I think it's maybe a sequel to Kozor, and there may be an opportunity to get a reprint or a second printing of Kozor Part One when they do Kozor Part Two at some point. So it's really great to
Oh,
do.
that would be awesome.
Absolutely. And it's really
Yeah.
great to be in like the academy with you and everybody else who participates, and just kind of everyone's kind of at a different strata, at a different level, and to be able to see how people work and the kind of work that they produce, it's inspiring. And it's like, well, you think to yourself, "Oh, I really like what they're doing. I would like to see how far I can push myself to see if I can get close to that, or I can do something like that." And then that's something we're always aspiring to do, is to get better. So and again, that whole feedback and critique every Sunday. I think we just did feedback and critique session number 30 this past Sunday.
Yeah.
It really is it's worth its weight in gold. Like it is. We were just talking about this Edge. We were talking about this when we were preparing for the stream, getting all the kinks unkinked before they got rekinked. But we were talking about how you know if you were going to go to a conventional art school and learn how to draw and learn all the techniques and everything, you'd be spending thousands of dollars. And, Clayton has some pretty, I guess, I would say competitive pricing. Sometimes he'll run specials so you can
Hmm.
get a better subscription price. And truth be told, when I got in, and it may have been for you too, it was like $10 a month US.
Yeah. Yeah, for me
And
too.
but for some reason I had to re-enroll, so I'm paying Clayton like $20 a month, which
Oh,
I don't mind. That's still a killer deal because I don't want to cancel one or the other. And plus, I don't mind. I feel like
it is.
it's worth it's well worth the $20 that I spend. But it was like the $10 a month was like a special founders rate, and then
Hmm. Yeah.
now he'll put on specials every once in a while. But it's great. Like he goes in depth. And in case you're wondering, the website for the How to Draw Comics Academy is howtodrawcomics.net. That's
Yeah, that is.
howtodrawcomics.net. Um, maybe we could drop something in the chat so people could check that out.
Yes, I will.
But yeah, I mean, if you're look, I'm well on my journey to becoming a comic book artist, and I know this is really a long, protracted introduction, but just to give people an idea, like the idea of Acadian Comics and the name comes from where I'm from actually. So I'm from a part of the United States in the southeast region of the United States called Louisiana, the state of Louisiana, and in Louisiana there's a south central portion of Louisiana called Acadiana, and that's where the
Oh, I
original
see.
Cajun settlers who were Cajun French settlers were. They were kicked out of Nova Scotia and out of parts of Canada by the British and sent down to live in the deep swamps of Louisiana. So it was a very hard life. It's still a hard life down there. It's very hot, very humid. There's lots of dangerous animals everywhere: snakes, alligators, even bears. Believe it or not, are in the swamp. So it's just
Wow.
all kinds of bugs. You name it, it's there. that was the inspiration for naming my channel, because I do have like some actual Cajun heritage. Like my great great grandmother was 100% Cajun French. Her last name was Bourgeois. So like um, that's
Mm.
now the Cajun French and French is a different dialect. Sometimes people from France, uh, the actual French, they have trouble understanding the Cajun French dialect, but then the Cajun French don't have problem understanding the French dialect. So it just kind of evolves
I
separately
see.
in its own way. It's kind of like in Germany how you have your High German, right? And then you
Yeah.
have like Bavarian German, and then I know that in some
Yeah.
German television programs they'll put subtitles for Bavarian German.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. You
it's
you won't understand that German.
it's comparable to
Yeah.
that. If I had to make a comparison, I would say it's something like that. So I've got some stories like already in my head, and it's just I'm trying to develop the skill set to be able to draw and self-publish my own comic. I need to build up an audience though enough to where I could have a successful campaign on Indiegogo and eventually do that. But I have kind of a vision, and I think if you want to do something like this and you want to create your own comic book, you have to have a vision. And that's
Yes.
why I'm at the academy, because I'm trying to learn all the necessary skills that I will need to do interiors, construct a sequential art on a page in the form of a comic book and panels, and be able to tell that story. So uh, that's kind of why I got into this. I did write a 23 chapter novel. It's a science fiction novel that I self-published on a separate website, and just kind of did it as like weekly or monthly or bi-weekly blog posts as I would edit the second third draft of that book, and I would just publish chapters each week or every other week like I just said. But once I got past that, I thought, well, I would like to be able to tell a story through a comic. It's a lot less words, and I can do it with images and through drawing. So it's a
Mm.
big shift, but I think you still have to have good writing and a good purpose and motivation at the end of the day. So that's kind of like where I'm coming from. I really love like the independent space. I do follow some independent creators, their work. I've actually got a book right here, just came in yesterday. This is this is Shane Davis's Inglorious Rex Volume 2.
Wait,
I
let me just
don't know if you could see that or not, but I'll put it closer to the camera.
so here you go. Now it should be bigger.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That looks great.
Yeah, yeah. So this is Dale Keown's cover. Dale Keown drew the cover for this, and
Uh,
I haven't read it yet, but I did do a ASMR video on YouTube. I don't know, Edge. You might want to consider this, but start doing some shorts on your channel. Like it's really not too bad. Maybe do a couple shorts for your channel. Like you can you know take a video, find the best parts of maybe a stream or something you want to show
mm.
people, put it down to like less than 50 seconds, and then you upload it on your phone and just do it like that, and you'll get a couple hundred views on these shorts, because I think YouTube is trying to directly compete with TikTok. So they're
Yeah, I
rewarding
see that. Yeah.
creators for doing these shorts. So what I'll do is, if I have a couple of like laughable moments in my videos where I laugh at something, or look,
Mhm.
whether I'm reading Wizard magazine or I'm reading a comic and something makes me laugh, I'll cut that up and I'll share it with people, and it's funny. So I like to have some bring in my sense of humor, my own brand of humor into that, and maybe that might be something you want to consider
Oh,
too.
that definitely works on your channel, so
Yeah,
I really like it. I'm just, um, I find it pretty hard, to produce all this stuff. Usually
yeah,
um, there's a lot I want to do, but most of the time I just enjoy sitting here and draw, and whenever I think, oh wow, that could have been a great tutorial or a short, it's gone because I didn't record it. And I don't know,
yeah.
I have to get into it, definitely.
You could even
I
do
want to do
time lapse
more.
videos. You could do like a time lapse
Yeah,
and do it that
yeah.
way.
Even though I'm not a super friend of time lapse, though, I did one. But I totally understand that, YouTube wants to well, push people in that direction, because people are used to consume, I
consuming
don't
media
know,
on their
30
phones.
seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
And um, I see that people usually do not watch 2-hour videos, or that sort of stuff. So
yeah.
maybe I'll try to keep it at least under an hour, 45 minutes. And yeah, yeah, there's a lot I have to get into in regards of streaming and shorts. But I need a real good plan first.
Well,
um,
I
and
would say learn. Premiere's not that hard if you already have Adobe anyway. You can Premiere is very user friendly. The whole
yeah,
non-linear editing system. It's easy to cut up and clip things and make it more condensed. And
I see.
depending on what you use, if your camera's set up, I mean, for my desktop stuff, it's all in 4K. I do 4K video. I try to give people the
Hmm.
best quality when I'm looking at these books, so it's as crisp and clean. I mean, it even shows the defects in your hands. Like if I have a cut on my finger or whatever, it's like, well,
Yes,
that's kind of unfortunate, but it's hey, and I want to show people the best possible way, in the best possible way,
of
rather,
course.
the
Yeah,
details of these wonderful books that I'm looking at. So,
yeah.
but yeah, you could
Oh,
you
that
could
makes
do you
sense.
could do that even with what you're doing with your drawing. You just gotta figure out, you know, I bet there's a way you could do it. You'd have to pick
By the
you would
way,
have to
that
pick
was a
your
good
favorite
point.
moments and condense it.
So while we talk, I keep going here.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and this piece here is just fantastic. I remember we were talking about when you started earlier this week. Actually, you were talking about your reference. We were talking a little bit about, I think I dropped it in the chat once, about how with the film Aliens, how they did this kind of
hmm?
mirror trick where they had the first 4 or 5 pods, and then they
Exactly.
put up a
Yes,
mirror, and it makes it look like it's going, there's 20 pods down the hall or whatever. And that's really
exactly.
great, like movie magic, filmmaking stuff. They did a lot of practical stuff on that movie. uh
So James, how by just to get back to your background, how did you get into writing? By the way,
um well,
so you wrote a novel, right? You
I
said,
did, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that's
okay,
awesome.
so I think I think you have, I think there are times when I will be doing something completely unrelated to the creative process or the right brain modality of human consciousness at all. I'll be in a left brain mindset. I'm doing something that's is just a left brain activity, and it doesn't require real creative thinking. It's just whether I'm brushing my teeth, or I'm taking out the trash, or whatever it is. Sometimes my mind
I
will just
see.
kind of daydream and wander off. And when that
Yeah,
happens, that's when the magic happens. And I learned to not waste those opportunities, and to write it down as soon as possible, because you're going to lose it. You may remember like the general outline of what you wanted, but whatever that really great idea was, it's going to go away. So you gotta
yeah,
retain that and write it down somewhere on paper. That's the one thing. But
exactly.
to answer your question, I've always wanted to create. I think we're tasked here in this life uh, to expand and grow in human consciousness. Our role is to learn and grow about, and to learn about the universe and how it functions. We're also here to learn about kind of the the, the cosmic law and nature of the universe. So some people might call that causality or causation, cause and effect, whatever you want to call it. But what's interesting about life is if I perform an action, it's either have the right to do it, or I don't have the right to do it. So if it's a good and
Hmm.
moral action, I have the right to do it. If it's not if I perform an action that doesn't cause harm to another sentient being, then I have a right to do
Yeah,
it. So I think with my writing, what happened was I can tell you that for a long time I just worked, and I still do have my day job. So I'm not quitting my day job,
I see.
but I worked,
Mm.
kind of in a public service capacity, and I did a lot of, I did what was you're expected. I did what was expected of me. I went. Oh, you graduated high school. It's time for you to go to college. You get a 4-year degree. Oh, you don't know what you want to do? Well, go take an aptitude test, which I do recommend that. You should take an aptitude test if you don't know what you want to do. It helps kind of get you, if you're just for a job, right? If you for a trade,
Mm.
to figure out what you want to do. Um,
Yeah,
and then I just kind of did that
absolutely.
for a while, and basically my level of understanding had to catch up and get me ready for get me ready for life and get me ready to tell a story. So it's one thing to imagine a scene, and it's one thing to imagine a world and a whole universe, but if you don't have any real teeth behind it, no real stakes, no real investment in your characters, and what is the moral conflict here? And when right and wrong and objective morality kind of entered my life and I discovered it through various truth discovery methods, that's when I decided I wanted to write about it. Because
Hmm.
what I started to see is there's a lot of entertainment out there that is kind of, it's it's moral relativism packaged and delivered to the masses, and it's not imparting any real wisdom. Now there's some really great pieces of entertainment that, you know they do, and there is a moral lesson to be taught, and there's something embedded in the allegory and the motifs of those stories, whether it's a book, whether it's a comic.
Hmm.
And I would say the biggest form and platform would be in film, and really now it's film and television and streaming and everything. So they have some great shows,
Yeah,
they have some great
yeah.
television, but I felt like you know I want to be a little C creator, right? I want to create, and I want to lend my voice to this, and maybe and share with people some observations that I've made while telling an entertaining and fun story that I would want to read or I would want to watch. So that's kind of how I got into writing my own novel. And I felt like if I understand these things about the world and I discover the truth about certain things, then I have a moral obligation to impart that and share that with other people so they can discover it too. So
No, that's a good approach.
right,
Yeah.
right. So now you have the creative side of somebody, but then you have the drive as to why they do it. Why am I gonna catch up on a second or third class to draw and learn how to do this? Why am I going to invest the time and effort to learn how to do art, and how to draw something or how to write something? Well, that's why for me. It's
Hmm.
not the money, it's not making money. I mean, if you do make
There are
money off
easier
of a
ways,
book,
right?
right, there are other ways to do it. Yeah, exactly. It's for me, it's well, I do want to produce a piece of art. I do want to tell a story and be able to share that and have the opportunity to spread that around and let people read it and enjoy it too. Um,
Hmm.
because there's a lot of like taking. There's a lot of taking going on, and I think we need to be more of the little C creator. More people need to create. More people need to do that process, because when you think about it, it's like, well, I don't know what to write about. Well, the human condition is there's nothing new under the sun, right? It's since time immemorial we've been dealing with the same issues, just different window dressing, different maybe technology's gotten better. I mean, that's undeniable, but the issues they were having in 2000 BC are the issues we're having today. It all boils down to the same thing. There's people who believe that they have autonomy, or no, rather than believe, let's throw the word belief out the window. Let's just say they know they have autonomy, they know that they're free beings, and that they have the right to do what they want to do as long as they're not harming any other people. And then there are other people who feel that they have to believe in authority. They have to believe in somebody to come in and take care of them and take away the rights of
Yeah.
other people, because they're uncomfortable with the idea of being a cosmic adult and growing up and saying, well, ultimately, we're all responsible for ourselves and we can help each other, um, you know, in a voluntaristic fashion. But yeah, I mean, that's something I kind
Yeah.
of think about all the time, because I think that really is the true divide between people. There's people who they want a parental figure to come in to solve their problems, and there are other
Yeah,
people who
some
want
need this
to do it themselves.
security, right?
Yeah,
And they don't want to take the responsibility,
that's right. Yeah,
kind of. Yeah.
yeah. But so I mean, that's kind of like what my story's about, and I've like my first comic. Um, you know, I have the main character and the protagonist is somebody who gets a second chance to come back and redo what they should have done, in their first life here. I mean, it is sort
Hmm.
of a reincarnation story, but at the same time, it's a superhero story, so the character has the opportunity to exercise real power given to them by nature, by God or the universe, whoever you want to call that, and it lends for some interesting stories, and I've already got the protagonist and the antagonist
Hmm.
figured out. I mean, it's when you have a clear understanding of these concepts, and when you start you start learning certain philosophies, and you start doing certain studies uh, in those philosophies, you can sometimes I feel like these story ideas they write themselves because it's relevant, and if it's relevant, you can care about it, you can be invested in it, and then you can write about it in a novel, or you can do a comic, or you can do another piece of art to express that. So I mean, that's kind of where
Yeah,
I'm at.
I think a comic is actually a great medium. So if you don't have the budget to create a movie, right?
Yeah.
So a comic can actually is so great to tell a
Well,
story.
well,
And
I mean, look at what you've done here. Look at this piece you've done. I remember when it was just the perspective grid, and a great grid it was. But I mean, uh, that
yeah, it was
technique you
just a
just did,
great.
where you drew in your lines to show kind of the ceiling and the grading, and then just kind of and lightly touched it out of there with a little bit of erasing and faded it out. Wow, what a great technique.
Yeah, it's actually it was a it was kind of a new approach for me too. How I started this piece here. So usually, I do a sketch, a rough sketch, and then I detail the sketch and to a certain extent, and then I add colors, and kind of paint on top of it. And this time,
Yeah.
um, I just started with a huge brush and blocked in some shapes. So I had a rough idea of what I was going for. Um, but I started super rough, and I used a big brush because it holds you back from adding details too early, right?
Right.
But so the image grows just naturally, and you add your big shapes, and you think of, you know, let's say the overall mood and image, and then over time you decrease the size of your brush and add a little details, and more and more and more until maybe this stage. I think it's not yet there. Um,
So you're still decreasing the size of your
yeah.
brush as you work even at this peak right now.
Well, no, but now I want to start to add some detail,
Yeah.
some details, and define the shapes, and then I will use some photo texture actually to add details, which is a
Right.
super quick way,
Yeah.
because this is just a piece of concept, um, so to speak,
Yeah,
and
but it's a
uh,
great piece. I mean, you could have a career just doing concept art for studios, for you know anybody
yeah,
really, like you're doing now. This is a job you're doing right now. This is a real job.
it actually is.
Yeah.
So this piece here, um, as you might know, I'm involved in a game development. It's in early production, and right now we are starting to produce a trailer to promote the game. And so tomorrow we will start working. So there's this a script we finished first draft of the script, and I will actually produce a storyboard based on this script. But we know already that we will have a few locations in this trailer, and so there's a modeling guy for environments, and another one for creatures and characters, and a guy who does animations. And what I do right now is I just create a couple of moods and first ideas for these 2 or 3 locations we will use. And of course, it might be whatever I do here, we throw it into the bin, you know, because I might have 5 or 6 or 8 pieces, and we say, okay, let's follow these 2. And the rest just goes away. So
but you still have to
at
bring
this
your
stage,
A game. You know, you still have to bring your A game, and it can always be a part of your portfolio, even if it's unpublished work, right?
of course, yeah, and that's what a lot of concept artists do.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you know, in the early days they just threw it away, but nowadays they produce art books, you know, which is awesome. I love art books, you know.
Yeah.
Or concept artists, as soon as they release the finished product, they are allowed to show the concept art that was not used or was used, whatever. But of course, they have to wait for it, you know. So what I do right now, showing the process of a piece that might get used, might not get used, is actually pretty unusual. But so I'm allowed to do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe one day, Edge, you'll have your own art book. You know?
That would be awesome.
And then you can get people to back it. You can crowdfund it. And I would back it. I'd back it a couple times. And
oh, that would be great. I will remind you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And plus, you're doing the comic too. So you're doing this. You're doing the comic. You've got a couple of irons in the fire right now, and that's nice.
Yeah, I'm working on it. But at the same time, to be fair, I still have to learn a lot. You know, I'm not where I wanted to be.
Are you so? We've talked in the past, and I think you mentioned it a little bit in your streams about your previous profession. So is this like your second career? Like you retired from that other profession, and now you're going more heavily, more deep into the art path, right? Is that kind of where you're at? So this is your second career. Yeah.
It's I would say it's probably my third career, or even the fourth. Yeah. But you're right. So I was educated as a graphic designer, you know, for advertising. That was actually where I started, and I wasn't really interested in advertising. So, but the advantage was, or at least I was lucky that a huge part of this in this school, you know, we had a lot of drawing classes. And we used different techniques, so I learned quite a bit there, you know. And after school, I started because I was looking for work, you know. At that time I had no idea that concept art would become a thing, and so I took the first job that paid me for drawing.
Yeah.
And you know, I found a company, and I worked for the automotive industry. They liked a couple of images that I created, and asked me to do some illustrations, actually as a gift for customers, for, you know, the customers, or and these illustrations were about the products they developed for these customers. Like, you know, they worked for Mercedes, BMW, and Audi. And so I did that at the beginning, and after probably a year or two, I got more into development. So I actually did concept design with a couple of engineers, and we called it advanced engineering. So because we created new ideas, you know, and the engineers were pretty good in developing these ideas, but they had no idea how to put it on paper. So that was the next step for me. yeah, and I did this for quite a bit, quite a long time. And then I started my own company, so that was probably my second career. Um, but the automotive industry is pretty hard, and and it feels like every 20 years they have a crisis,
Right.
and it's a pretty tough business.
Yeah, I can imagine just based on
So
how you're describing it, and yeah.
yeah, yeah. Then I
What do you think about like I think it's probably going to get rolled back, but this whole idea
mhm,
of by like 2030 all the cars going to be electric, like all the German car companies are going to produce electric vehicles. I'm not
yeah,
against electric vehicles, but I mean, I don't see how they're going to not produce, you know, internal
it's right.
combustion engine cars in Germany when people want when when the manual transmission, the art of driving on the roads there,
Mhm,
it's so
exactly.
embedded in the culture. No one's going to
Yeah,
want to get in a really high-end go-kart essentially or a golf cart, which is what an electric car
that's
is,
right.
just with more
That's absolutely
with more
right.
bones and sheathing around it, like a Tesla is a really high-end golf cart is what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
That
is.
can go 100
Yeah.
miles an hour or whatever, well, faster, however it goes. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a huge group of customers. They want to um, they want to have something. They want to shift gears
I mean, sure, give people
and
the option if they want to buy an electric car, fine, but
yeah,
not everybody
yeah.
wants that. So I think the
But
car companies
also, yeah,
they have to cater to as many customers as they can. And I think right now, like they're kind of just sticking their finger in the wind and seeing which way it's blowing, and kind of putting out statements. Like I read an article earlier this year that
yeah.
Lamborghini was going to stop producing gas cars. That's crazy. There's no way. There's no way Lamborghini is going to stop producing internal combustion engine vehicles. I mean,
Yeah,
they say that, but they're gonna
for
they're gonna walk that
yeah,
back. I know it.
I think so. Ferrari is going the same route.
Right.
They're producing electric Ferraris, which is pretty strange. I mean, of course, um,
If
eh,
people want it, they will buy it. Yeah.
electric cars are pretty powerful. It's an amazing feeling. The way they accelerate.
And they've gotten so
Um,
much better over the years. I mean, yeah, you're still
yeah,
burning gas, and yeah, it's oil and everything, but
but I
it's
think
the technology still, even in a gas burning car, it gets better every year. They're improving upon it every year. So
definitely.
yeah.
Um, but what I was thinking when electric vehicles became a thing, so that might change in a couple of years or decades, but we of course we should not forget that electric vehicles, yeah, there are some argues, they are more environment friendly
Yeah.
because um, but of course there's a lot of damage they do
Oh yeah.
in other areas of this world,
Well, it's a dirty
and
technology, right? The
it
the rare
is,
earth
it is
minerals that the poor kids in Africa and these countries have to go and mine
exactly,
with their small hands, their children doing this
yeah,
work. So you're doing that. I mean, look,
absolutely,
but that's hard to say these days. Look at Apple, that's you know,
hmm
it's Chinese slave labor basically. They're paying slave labor wages for those people to build our phones and our technology for
yeah,
us. And
yeah,
unfortunately, that's
absolutely.
I don't see that changing anytime soon. But yeah, it's an interesting.
And, but
Yeah,
but
yeah,
people very often forget that,
yeah.
so and
Just for convenience.
there
Yeah,
are, yeah, and there are clubs of car clubs, guys who drive a BMW X5 and they believe they have done something really good, and they celebrate themselves, but
right,
they forget this,
right.
and
Yeah,
and people are calling for they want to go not 300 kilometers with one battery load. They want to go 700 or 900 or whatever, and forget that this means they need bigger batteries. And
Batteries. Yeah.
that's why huge cars, or it means they need huge cars. You can't get this amount of battery in a small vehicle.
No, no.
To
I saw a
and
Cybertruck
yeah.
the other day. It was parked on the side of the
Oh
road.
yes,
Um,
Jesus Christ.
a big Cybertruck. And I know that in
It's
Germany, like
yeah,
there are people who are upset with Elon because he's built. I
yeah.
think outside of Berlin, he built like a big factory,
Oh yeah,
and
in the
he had to
eastern
like tear down a
part.
forest or
Yeah,
something to do it. I don't know. I don't know the whole
yes,
story, but
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I mean that is
yeah,
progress too, but it's it's
yeah. Right.
it's a complex issue. It's not. There's multiple. There's pros and cons. It's a double-edged sword, So
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I
But
like what he does with SpaceX. I think that's pretty cool. The
oh
idea,
yes,
the fact
it
that we
is.
can reuse rockets now, and he can. I think I saw a video on Twitter where he posted it, and there were two rockets that
Two.
came in for reentry, and they landed at the same time down at.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it today.
Thinking, wow, this is like
It
Flash
was
Gordon stuff right here. This
wow,
is the
absolutely.
science
It was
fiction.
so amazing.
Yeah.
And a couple or a bit of time ago, I was still thinking, "Oh, come on, that's fake."
Right.
They did this on. I don't know.
It's a deep
This
fake.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, but it looks so amazing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So like AI and just the whole deep fake thing. Here's another
Oh
another
dear.
thing that
Yeah.
drove me to
Hmm.
get into drawing was I um I used to use Midjourney, and
Oh, you did.
I did. So
Okay.
I started in Midjourney in version 3. And
Okay.
version 3 was kind of what the platform, what the AI was trained on. It did produce some interesting results, and I feel like
Hmm.
it what happened as time went on, everything that was being rendered, by the time you got to
Hmm.
version 6, it became so homogenized that
Hmm.
it started to produce what other most other people were getting in their results. So I saw a problem
Yeah.
with that. And then also there's this kind of imposter syndrome, which is a valid thing to feel, because it's like, well, I could be drawing this myself. It might take longer. I might have to learn some things to do that, but I got fed up with not getting the results I wanted from an AI. Like it's like
Yeah.
okay, I want 10 fingers, 10 toes, please. Can we do that? No, I can't. I'm going to give you 20 fingers and 20 toes,
Yes.
you know? Um,
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
I would just, you could never really get, like, we were talking about, we were doing like the pre-stream setup. We were talking about
Hmm.
like, using films to build comic book panels and to make comic book panels, and
Oh yeah.
how,
Yeah. I remember.
and I forget what example I used, but you wouldn't, for a critical scene in a film that's an intense dialogue scene, you wouldn't want to pan out and have a bird's eye view of that moment. You would want to have an up
Oh
close,
yeah.
intimate,
Yeah.
like viewpoint of the actor delivering their dialogue. Well, that was something that it didn't really do well either. It was like, and maybe it's changed since then, but I can't go back to it now. I'm too in deep with I'm sorry about that. I'm too in deep with just like with learning how to draw. It's just, let me get my perspective grids in, and let's figure something out, and let's do it. Like, it's amazing to see what you've done here over the past couple of days with this concept art, and just seeing how you built it. And you got to learn the steps. It's a stepwise progression, and you're layering it, and you're molding it like a piece of clay, and just seeing you work through this is really cool. And I gotta say, watching you do this is very similar. I have a similar appreciation to watching Dan Lawless last night, where Dan Lawless, he took a gesture drawing, okay, and then
Hmm.
he, on top of the gesture drawing, he laid in some basic anatomy. He
Yeah.
drew a whole face, and I like his methodology, how he did the eyeballs, and he drew the whole eyeball, and then he's like, I draw the whole
Oh
thing,
yeah. Yeah.
and then
I see.
he lays in the eyebrows and everything. That was cool to see. And then just see how
Wow.
he laid in the details. And he got the basic lines and framework in over his rough, very loose figure gesture drawing, and then after that he started doing the shadowing, and
I
um,
see.
he like did gray. He came in with gray first, and then he went in with the
Mm-hmm.
blacks, and then he started doing the black shadows, and then he colored it. And this was like in an hour, and he just cranked this thing out. It's like, man, this is awesome. But this is the workflow. Like that's what I'm talking about. We were talking about workflows too. You remember
Mm-hmm.
Edge? We were talking about workflows when we were doing our pre-stream
Yeah.
setup
Yeah. Right.
earlier this week. Like I think a big part of this is if you don't know where to start, you're not going to be able to execute any of this. You got to have a good workflow, and seeing Dan Lawless just go through that process and watching you actually over the course of several days draw this and paint it and render it out. Uh, this is important. People need to see stuff like this because it seems really daunting, and it's like you see a completed piece and you can't start from there. You got to go back to
Yeah.
the
I
beginning,
see. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
see the
Yeah.
process,
You're
the
absolutely right.
workflow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right. You have to start somewhere. You will. I'm pretty sure over time, you will of course develop your own workflow because you will find some things work for you, some do not. Um,
But you have innovation
but
on your
it's
side because and this is the one thing that I realized that's right now not only just experience but separates me from people who are working is that I'm not working in art right now and other
mm,
people are. So because you have deadlines, because you have projects where you have to deliver on it, it forces
oh
you
yeah,
to innovate. You're forced to innovate to
yes,
get the outcome
yes,
you're
you're
looking
right.
for, to get the outcome you need in your art to produce that either the product or the piece that you're doing for your client. So I don't have that pressure because I'm just taking the class. I'm a student right now, but I I know this sounds
Oh,
crazy, but I would like to have that experience at some point because I think that
oh,
I would
y-
continue to learn
yeah,
and that would teach me a lot about the process. But I have to be competent enough to be able to be given an opportunity to draw something. So
yeah,
I'm a little bit down the road on that, but I realized that that's what would take me further once I get my fundamentals down is having an actual job, doing the work, and seeing what works in a workflow and what doesn't, and then streamlining that process, making it more efficient and a better process. You know,
yeah. That's the way you
because you
do
want
it.
to save time, you want to maximize the time you're using. Um, yeah, absolutely.
And I believe that, and well, we should say it's probably different in, for example, in the US than in Europe, but in the US, so I wanted to say in comics as in concept art, time is actually a crucial factor, right? So, um, for example, in comics, if you have to shoot out, I don't know, 30 pages a month or 40, or
That's a
I don't
killer.
know how many pages they do, that's a killer. And if you find a way to speed up this process, you know, um,
I heard
that's
Jason
that's a
Fondren
great
talk
thing,
about that. He did a book once
Yeah.
where he had to do 40, like almost 40 pages in a month. And he talked about
Wow.
what the workflow was like, what it
Yeah.
required of him, how difficult it was, and how he did not wish to do that again because it was
I can
extremely
imagine.
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the difference to Europe is actually um, we don't really have these monthly books. A few, yes, but not many. Um, but we have a lot more novels or books that take 6 months at least, sometimes a year. I can tell you, I started one of my most favorite series that I have on my shelf. I started probably 20 years ago with issue 1,
Hmm.
and 20 years later it was issue 14. It took that long.
Wow.
Not in 1 year, in 20 years. But and that's a huge difference between the European comic market and the US comic market, and I think it's even worse in the Asian market. You know,
I'm
I don't
sure.
know how many books they shoot out every month,
Well,
but
yeah,
yeah, speed is actually, not, how did one guy say it? Don't speed. It's not good
right.
for your health. No, so but time
Time
is a
is a
huge factor,
get
and in
more time,
concept
more
art,
quality,
it's
right?
even,
Yeah.
yeah, and in concept art, time is even more important, and that's why they started to do more in 3D, for 2D art actually. So they block out models and do over paintings, and or do lighting in Unreal, for example, or in any other 3D software to use it for their 2D artwork. But because it speeds up the process, and I guess the idea, and people were really afraid, because of AI. They had the idea that you just type in what you need and AI will do it. It's actually not the case. AI is really bad at concept art.
Yeah, it is.
It does some really cool stuff, but it does not solve any problems.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's the like the prompts and everything. It's like, oh, give me a Sid Mead, Mobius style, uh,
yeah,
you know, uh, 16 by 9 shot of New York City in the year 3000, and it's gonna spit out something
yeah,
that's gonna look like garbage. It's not gonna give you what you
yeah.
want.
There are some things
Sometimes you get lucky.
AI
It's
does
kind of
really
like a
good.
slot machine, you know.
Yeah,
You put the coin in and
yeah,
you pull it, you might get everything. You might get all cherries, and you might get a big payday, but sometimes most of the time
yeah,
it's not good. Um
yeah. Exactly.
it's like,
Yeah,
well, I might as well
and
just put pen to paper or pen to stylus to tablet and do it myself and chisel away at it. So,
big hello to Carlina.
yeah,
Hey,
hello
nice to
Carolina.
see you. Nice to have you here.
Carolina. Yeah. But no, what you're talking about with like the deadlines and everything in the European market for the guys and gals who are independent creators in the independent comic book space, the indie comic book space, at least here in America, a lot of these people like
Yeah.
this book here, this Inglorious Rex, this took like a year,
Mm-hmm.
over a year to develop, you know,
Oh wow.
and
Let's
you know,
let's show it again.
here you go.
Let me make it bigger here. Wait. Um, it looks awesome.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the Dale Keown cover.
And is it how many pages is it?
I think it's over 48,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. It's a
Oh
48
wow.
page book.
Yeah.
So they're not giving you like a 22 pager. They're giving you a nice product and a really a nice quality book. It's got good binding to it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not stapled. It is glued
Oh wow.
together.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Um,
That looks great.
he's got some he's got some black and white stuff in the back here for some he has like contests and people can draw, and
Wow.
he's got some
I
black and
love
white
that.
art in here. Okay.
I'm a huge fan of black and white panels, to be honest.
Let me check that out. I think we'll tip it over. It'll be it's a pinup. It should
Great.
be a pinup, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Oh,
Really
other way
awesome.
around. Other way around. Here we go.
Well, it was awesome the other way around too.
Yeah,
Oh wait, yeah. Now I see the guy.
there it is.
Really cool.
Yeah. So this is kind of a cool story, it's but yeah, so and he's already starting Shane Davis. He's already starting on volume 3. I think the sign up for that's going to be at the end of next month. So,
Wow.
yeah, and it's basically a mom and pop business. It's him and his wife, and then he flies in his mother-in-law from Singapore, puts her to work, and she bags and boards the books, and then they ship them out. And the funny story with this was I'd ordered the
Wow.
supplemental books. I'd backed it on his campaign, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't specify the perk that I wanted. I wanted volume 2 because I got volume 1, and I had to write to them. I said, "Well, I did back the campaign. I did two
Hmm.
separate backings. I backed the main book, and then I backed the supplementals. And the way it works with crowdfunding on Indiegogo is if you don't specify that you want the book, they'll just assume that
Okay.
you're just donating your resources so they can produce the book. Because
Oh,
the way crowdfunding
really?
works is it's not a guarantee that you're going to get something for what you give. You're backing the
Hmm.
creators where there's basically no promises made that you're going to get it, but in good faith
Oh,
they generally do, and people fulfill those campaigns. So you can choose different tiers on a
okay.
campaign that you back, and then eventually they'll ship you the book when it's time for them to fulfill the campaign. But it's
I didn't know that.
yeah, that's crowdfunding, because otherwise you don't have the means to do it yourself, and to get it printed, and then how are you going to ship it, and you know all that. I mean, you can do that yourself, but
Hmm.
the cost to do that on the front end is just way too high. So that's where crowdfunding really kind of has leveled the playing field. And you see, if crowdfunding didn't exist, I don't know if I would get into drawing comics. I mean, I guess I would, but I would also think about it a little. I guess I never considered it because crowdfunding wasn't a thing. But you don't have to go work if you're good enough. You don't have to go work for the big two, or
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
even some of the bigger indie houses like Image or whatever. If you want to do your own
Yeah.
comic, we live in a world today where that's possible. You have to build
That's
an
absolutely
audience,
right.
you have to build
Yeah.
sort of a following, and then keep people updated and informed about what it is you're working on, what you're doing, and you'll have this interest, and you'll stir up this interest about your work. And if you're passionate about what you're doing, and people want to read about it, they'll back your campaign. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Like I said, I think I'm
But
a few years away from that, but the
yeah.
idea is I'm creeping up on 100 subscribers right now. I just
Wow.
checked, I was like at 97, but I told
That's
people,
great.
you have to self-advertise too. You have to say, "Hey, we're creeping up on 100. I'd love to get that. I'd love to get 100 subscribers and get people's support." You have to ask for people's support. You know, I just checked, I'm at 98, so I told
Mm.
people if I get to 100, I'll do a live stream, and I'll play Gunter on my live stream. He's like a Swedish kind of a fake Swedish pop star, and what they do is
Okay.
they play like the Comicsgate Kings. What they'll do is they'll when they hit a certain benchmark for their funding, they'll play this song called like Fire Tonight, and it's basically this guy. His name's Gunter, and he wears these big like sunglasses, and he's kind of got a mullet, and he he has like eye makeup, and he has like a jacket, but then he's got like these two
Wow.
women that will dance and sing, and then he'll be like, "Oh yeah," and then they'll go and they'll do their singing and everything. So it's funny,
Hmm.
but yeah, I told people if I get to 100, I'll play
Okay.
some Gunter. So
And I will be there definitely
yeah. Oh,
and watch it.
thank you, Damn Killer. Thank you so much for that. I hope you enjoy the videos that I put out on there. I try to keep it light, have a little bit of brevity, and some humor. But that's the thing; it's hard not to laugh, because I mean, comics should make you laugh. Um, it shouldn't all be like doom and gloom and serious all the time. There should be some humor injected into some of these stories, and if it's funny, I'll laugh out loud. And that's what I do. Like I'll sit here, I'll set up my camera. I have this like little rig right here, and normally um I have a Sony camera that's it's specifically designed for like product reviews, So I put that camera here, and then I'll get the angle I want, I get the lighting the way I want it, and then I have I have my Lewitt mic that I'm talking through right now, and you're getting the audio feed from that, and then I've put it through the Scarlett, and then it goes to my Mac, and I'll record separately on a separate audio track, and then later I merge the audio and I sync it with the video that I have on my camera. I don't use the audio source from the camera because it's the microphone that I have is the superior audio source. So you have to have clean, crisp
Mm.
audio if you want to do like those types of videos. So, but yeah, I do that, and as I'm doing it, it's just kind of through osmosis. Really, I'll read something, especially Wizard Magazine. Like Wizard Magazine, they put stuff in there that you just couldn't get away with, anymore. Like it's like you're not going to see a mainstream magazine that has some kind of pop culture connection to it crack the kind of jokes that Wizard magazine was cracking up until that they went away in 2011, So I like to do those too. I've got a whole short box of Wizard magazines that I'm gonna, kind of do a lot, kind of a reaction video, and I might spend 30 minutes like looking at it. But you know what? There's other people, other guys and gals or whomever who
Hmm.
grew up reading Wizard magazine, right? And they would pick that up at the store, and so I might be reviewing or looking at an issue that they looked at back in the day or they owned perhaps.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just when I was a kid looking at that, I couldn't appreciate the articles as much, because we would find the pinups, we'd find the comic book pages because they put sample comics in Wizard magazine, and we would try to duplicate that and draw what we saw in Wizard magazine. So it was a great comic. It was the comic book magazine. I mean, bar none. It was it.
Hmm.
That was it. I think Mark Waid tried to like do another like Wizard clone after they went away in 2011, but it
Okay.
wasn't successful. It's all on YouTube now. You want to learn about comics, you have the comic creators, you get the pros, they're all on YouTube. They can tell you stuff, um but what's funny is some of these guys, they give like inside baseball sort of funny anecdote stories that you would never get. Maybe you'd get in Wizard
Hmm.
magazine, um, but most of the time you're gonna get these funny stories, So it's kind of a brave new world with YouTube and everything. So
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it's really coming together. I really like how you accented the paint at the bottom. Kind of gives it that industrial look, you know,
Yeah, that's what I'm going for in this one.
like it could be
Actually,
ejected into space or something, and be retrieved later on by another vessel. Yeah.
yeah, I started another one which I can show you here. So that's, for example, that's a different design, and you see it's super rough. Um,
Right, and you're putting the bodies inside the silhouettes of the
you have
bodies
these
inside the hibernation tubes,
these
the
stasis
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 tubes.
pods.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one version, and these are the kind of, yeah, industrial looking versions. Um, I will do others, with a super clean design, white, clean, and sterile.
Yeah.
Um, just to have a couple of options, and then
Yeah.
in the team we will make a decision,
You
which way
know,
we should go.
I really like how you have really got a good handle on color. And that's something I'm gonna have to learn at some point is those colors of the screens. You got it. It's really popping. Like I believe I'm looking at LED screens right now. You know, on that. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Um, in general, I would say, to be honest, I think color is still my weakest thing. I work hard on it,
Yeah.
and I think I got way better. But I was so afraid about colors. Uh, um, as I was super super afraid about inks, for example.
Right.
So I'm still kind of, because ink is, it's so not forgiving. You put inks on you put ink on paper and it's there. It's the highest contrast you can have. Black and white. If you scribble with light gray, you can slowly build up a thing. But if you use ink, it's there. So that I was really afraid of, and I felt so comfortable with just in the gray realm, black and white and grayscale. But I was super afraid of colors. But I'm getting there. I learn more and more about it,
Well, you're
and
layering it.
it's
You have the ability to do the polish, you know, and you're layering it, you're putting it down, and it's get you know, but your colors, it's giving form and shape. Like you know, the way you've got your colors and the way you've done this, these pods, they're looking translucent, meaning, you know, maybe that this is clear. What might have started off as like gray tubes, I can see a body in there. You know, I can see um it looks like it's clear glass. I'm looking through glass, you know.
yeah. I'm still it might change though. Right now it's like class, but as I said, it's still super rough, and I slowly build up this image, and right now I'm actually thinking whether I should add some kind of a frame, and maybe just some parts, some areas in class, and I also want to have some pretty light interior of these
Mhm.
pots. Um, yeah, building it up.
So how
But
much
now that I
how
talk
much
about
already
it,
you know
oh,
on the
sorry.
front end, and then you sort of you, how much of it do you know of what you want it to look like on the front end versus kind of it happening in the moment? How much of what's the split on that for you? Like, are you just are you experimenting at the same time as you're as or do you know this is what I want? Let me see how it looks, and then I'll modify it
No,
after
no,
the fact.
no. Pretty much the first thing you said. It's really exploring.
Yeah.
Um, as I said, I started this one here with a really huge brush. Um, yeah, you've oh no, you haven't seen it, um, but I relied heavily, for example, on on happy accidents. So if you use a big brush, it creates shapes just because you can't draw precise.
Right.
You just throw shapes in, and they overlap, um, and the brush is super sloppy, and that creates shapes that you wouldn't draw.
Yeah.
And the more you add, and then suddenly your eye, it's a little bit like, sometimes I start, um, in a way, it's like cloud reading. You know what I'm saying? You look at clouds and you see something.
Oh, that's an
You know
elephant. No, it's a horse. No,
how you
it's
call it?
right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and usually you see a face or
Yeah.
a creature or whatever it is, and you can do the same while you draw. You just throw in shapes and overlaying colors or whatever, and then your eye catches something, and then you can work it out. So of course I'm not I didn't throw in shapes randomly. So I had an idea. Okay, I want a room, and I want stasis pods in a row, and it should be a pretty long room. Um, but of course, I had no idea about the details, whether I want to have cables or like structure on the ceiling, and maybe um, or how in detail the pots would look like. And it's still not clear. I might change that, but pretty soon I will throw in some textures as well, and even they will create some happy accidents.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's like, um yeah, you're steering it, but at the same time things just happen, and you benefit from it.
But I think you
And
have a good handle on lighting and shading. Like for example, if you look just at the floor and the corridor there, look how I mean, I see how you've got the hoses and how you have a dark side of the hose
mm,
and you painted in the lines and the lighter you know paint that you got on there. It gives it shape, and I can it my eye reads that. I can read that you've got the
yeah,
floor and it's got a gloss to it, you know.
Yeah.
it all works. So I mean that's
Yeah,
awesome, you know.
actually, it's just as you said. I think your eyes are actually doing most of the work, you know. So you can keep it pretty loose, and your eye will still see stuff, you know, if you indicate some areas. So you don't have to really
Hold that thought. I'll
detail
be
it.
right back. Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
yeah, sure. So how's everyone? Oh yeah, James was frozen. I see. How it works now. I'm pretty
Hey, sorry about
happy.
that.
How it works. Oh no, don't worry. I think let me see. Let me just check the time. It's 1 a.m.
Oh wow,
Okay.
yeah, it's late for you, huh?
Yeah, I usually I go for like 3 hours, so 2 a.m. in the morning I stop. But
Edge, are you on Twitter? Are you on Twitter by any chance?
I have a Twitter account, but you know, it's yeah, it's just like any other platform. You know, I have an account, but I don't really maintain it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm on Twitter. Um,
One thing you might want to consider is yeah, having some definitely starting sort of a social media presence. Maybe picking with Twitter, it's easier because you can do it on your. You don't need to use your phone to use Twitter. You can use it on your web browser, you
okay.
know, and you can start,
Yeah,
you know, posting some things that you want to share and start connecting with the various communities that uh, are interested in the kind of art that you're doing. You're doing this. You're doing
mm,
conceptual art. You want to do. You're doing comic art. So I think there's an opportunity to really, you know, grow there and you know to promote what you're doing. You know, um, Facebook not so much. It's kind of it's not really good for that. But Twitter, there's an opportunity there to do that and to get you know get seen and to get more
that's true.
people on that. And then what you can do is you cross promote. So if you go on Twitter,
Mm,
you can say, hey, I've got a stream coming up, and you put that out there. You
yeah,
put out the
I
link
see.
before it starts, and people will follow that and you know join your streams.
You see, there's so much I have to learn. There's so much, or I have to use it. You know it's all there, but
Yeah,
I don't know. Sometimes I feel I'm kind of old school, and I don't want to invest too much time in social media. But at the other end, you know,
I think it's
you're right.
necessary if
It's
you want to
necessary.
if you want to promote yourself, you got to
Yeah,
do it, you know. But it's not a
and
bad thing
it's
once you get into
yeah.
the rhythm of it. It's fine. You know who could really I think who has would have good advice on this would probably be Clayton. You know,
Oh
Clayton,
yeah, he's really
he's
good.
always he leverages Twitter, Facebook. I'm sure he's on Instagram too.
Yeah,
But he'll
I'm
post
pretty
about his
sure. Yeah,
classes. He'll post about
yeah.
you know he did like a drawing the other day of like this monster that was pretty good, and
Yes,
he
I've
posted
seen it.
that, and I saw you commented in the forums. I made a comment too, but
Mm-hmm.
that was cool to see him kind of just do his own thing, you know, because I know he's an editor himself, so I know he's the editor on Graveyard Shift Volume 5 right now.
Oh yeah.
It's John Malin's book, and
Mm-hmm.
he's probably doing some other things, you know, as well. And on top of that, he's got the Academy, and
Yes.
he's got to promote himself. So he's a busy man, you know. He's doing a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Crazy, isn't it?
it is. It is. But
I didn't really know that he was connected to Marlin. Um, I mean, it's
yeah, yeah,
I didn't know that they worked together.
they do. They
Mhm.
do.
But I remember Marlin was on his stream once, right?
Yeah,
I
John
think he was
Malin. He does
interviewing
work
him.
with
Yeah.
he's an editor on John Malin's book.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I know that. I think, that's the thing. Like, you start asking around, and that's why I thought it was great. It was kind of an interesting opportunity because I started following, watching some of these guys on YouTube last year and really getting into
Mm-hmm.
it. And because what happened with me, and I had this conversation. I went to Garden State Comic Fest last weekend, and I had this conversation with Ethan Van Sciver, and I said, "Listen, uh, I I walked away from comics as a fan many years ago, and I came
Mm-hmm.
back because I remember going to the movie theater to see the Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and thinking."
Mm-hmm.
What happened? Why is our media changing like this? Did I just get punked?
Yeah.
And we kind of laughed about that, but it, the larger issue is, and this is going to circle back to Clayton at some point, but the larger issue was these were guys who, yeah, they they were kind of ousted for political reasons from working in the
Mm.
mainstream comic book industry, but at the same
Yeah, I
time,
see.
they they're very art and creator centric. So what I mean by that is they, rather than complain about a problem, they want to be part of a solution. They want to produce work as an alternative. It's like, well, if we don't like what we're seeing out in the world, there's a great analogy for this, and you can use it in any kind of like social ill or strife that's going on right now. What we have is we've got people in the world who they're
Oh, sorry.
it's like we're sitting in a movie theater, and people are shouting, like, let me back up for a second. So let's take a look at like
Mm-hmm.
whatever people are displeased with, whether it's world events, geopolitics, politics at a national level, or politics at a global level, or just whatever it is they're dissatisfied with. What do people do? They're sitting in a movie theater, and they're yelling at the movie screen, and they're watching the movie play out on the movie screen, and they're throwing their popcorn and their soda at it, and it's too late. The image
Mm.
has already been created. The movie has already the film is in the can. It's done. You got to change the movie from the projection room. You have to put a different movie on that screen that you want to see. You can't change what's being projected down in the seats. You have to go up into the projector room and
That's
change the
right.
film that you're watching, right? And you have to change the film that's going to be made, that's going to go into the projector. I know it's all digital and video now, but you got to change the film that's going to be made with a new movie and put that in the projector and put that on the screen. So that was the whole thing that they were saying, was like, well, rather than complain about the state of entertainment, which there is a huge business model for that now on YouTube. You can go, they're all over the place. People they complain about politics and entertainment, and Disney Star Wars is dead, so forth and so on, but
Mm.
they're not producing their own work, and they're not really offering any solutions to the problem. What are they doing to change what's being put on the screen? Well, not a whole lot, right? So that's what really attracted me
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
what these guys are doing, because they're putting something out on their own. So I respect
Yeah.
that, and so that's how I kind of found that. And then Clayton's in the indie space. He's an indie creator. And when I started watching his videos, it's like, oh, well, I'm going to follow him and subscribe to his channel. And then that's how I learned about the Academy. I got on his emailing list. And that's how I got tied in. And then you start learning about the real art and technique, and the strategies you can employ to do that, and learning the skills to do it. So it started from one thing, kind of an area of discontent, and it turned into something that I really enjoy doing now, and I want to do more. So that's kind of how I got turned on to Clayton and the Academy, and this sort of space. So it was
So
interesting.
when did you meet Clayton, or one
Not
at
yet.
one
So we were
some
supposed to meet
point?
last night, but we had to postpone because
Yeah.
Dan Lawless, he was coming on. So I'm going
Oh,
to meet with
okay.
Clayton next Wednesday. So
No, I mean, what when was the first time you became aware of Clayton's work? Because
um
I think I was aware of him for
I
a couple of years actually.
I think, okay, I think it was through some of these independent creators. It was either a John Malin stream, or
Yeah, yeah, I think me
I think
too.
Ethan Van Sciver had Clayton on one of his streams like last summer, and
Yeah.
he came on, and I think it was both Clayton and Corey, and I think Ethan had said like, "Oh, those Barton boys, they really know how to draw. They know how to draw women really well, you know." So it's like,
Absolutely.
and I thought, okay, well, I need to look into this because he's got a distinct style. It's very clean, very crisp, very modern, and it's interesting since I've been edifying myself and doing some autodidactic work and research on my own. I've
Hmm.
been looking at like Michael Turner, and I can see Michael Turner influences on Clayton. I can see the Mark
Oh.
Silvestri
Oh yeah.
influences on Clayton. And when I
Yes.
see like
Yeah.
when we were doing one time we did a class just on hands and trying to foreshorten hands, and I'm
Hmm.
not kidding. I went into a Michael Turner like a Wizard Michael Turner book that Wizard magazine did. I actually have it right here. Here's the book, and I could start seeing in the hands. I'm like, oh, that Clayton hand, that's for that woman. That's definitely Michael Turner right there. So you see
I see.
where your teacher's influences come from. But this is actually, I'm
And I
glad I thought
think,
about this.
yeah.
Because Michael Turner, um, you know, sometimes you can get down in the rut a little bit on yourself, but like when you see what his sample pages were for Top Cow, which
Hmm.
was Mark Silvestri's comic book company. If you just take a look at that, oh, I'm frozen again. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you are. Wait.
Well, let's see if I can get this. I'll keep the book out. Oh, I'll keep the book out, and we can. I think it's worth seeing.
Oh, now it's good. Um. Okay. Show us.
Okay, so this is the book right here, right? Michael Turner, and
Oh yeah.
if you
Great.
look at this page here, this is what he submitted as sample pages. See
Wow.
that? Look at that.
Yeah.
It's sort of out of
I
focus.
saw a I saw a documentary about Michael Turner, and
Trying to get better.
I,
There it is.
yeah,
I mean, look
I
at that.
think
I mean, I've seen stuff.
that's
I've seen stuff in the academy that some of our fellow students have produced that look like this. So it's like
hmm,
you got to like think about it that way and think, wow, this was his starting point. I have my starting point, but look what he achieved. Look what he became. And if you can be persistent, you can keep doing it, and get better and better and better. So I think this is inspiring. I'm so glad that they included this because it shows someone who's serious and is an aspiring artist. Look, you like Michael Turner, you got this
yeah,
book. This is where Michael Turner started, and you know,
yeah.
this is where this is where Michael
There's a
Turner
chance
ended
to
up.
get there, right?
This is where he went. You know,
Yeah,
it's impressive. It's impressive. I mean, it didn't happen overnight, but you know, things like that. You have to motivate yourself. You have to find ways to motivate yourself and keep that fire going. That creative spark, and that drive and that will to continue. Because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes you look at what you're drawing, you're thinking, God damn, it sucks, but I got to keep going.
yes, you're right.
So yeah. Well, I gotta say, Edge, like we've been here for a while now, just over 2 hours. I know I was only here for like maybe 1 hour, but what you've done and how this has changed this, how you've layered onto this, and it's starting to pop and come together. It's looking good.
Thank you, James.
I like how you have
Well, yeah, I
the
think
greens up at the ceiling there. Kind of gives it a sort of a different hue.
yeah, yeah, I think the main colors here at the end might be some bluish, greenish, and then yellow as a
Right.
complementary color, right? So I think that's where I want to go. But you know, at the end, you can go in different directions and still at the end change it.
Right.
With the U slider and
Yeah, you got so many
So,
options, you know, working digitally. There's so much you can do.
oh, it's
It's almost
absolutely.
limitless, you know.
Imagine when they had to do this manually. You know,
Yeah, they had to know what they wanted.
oh,
I
absolutely.
think I would think there was less room for experimentation on the fly.
Oh yeah,
Not like this where you can kind of tinker with. And that was something that Dan Lawless showed yesterday. It's like you can kind of tinker with this and move this around and do this and do that. And yeah, I knew that, but it's one thing to know that and know it yourself and then see, okay, here's a professional. He's employing similar techniques to get his results. It's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, that's something you
yeah,
can do. You should take advantage of that. Don't I mean, a tool is a tool, right? I mean, if it makes the job easier and it gets you the result you want, go for it, you know?
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's you know, especially in concept art anyway. You know, you don't have to be ashamed to use whatever's available, except, well, you should not let AI do stuff and then
Yeah.
say, "Oh, look what I've done." You know, but I'm
Or
pretty
use the
sure.
3D asset
Um,
and then trace over it and say I did that.
exactly, tracing
Now, if you
over
want to use
is
it
a
as
no
reference
is a
and
no
draw it
go.
yourself, that's
Yeah,
legitimate. But tracing over it,
yeah,
yeah.
or even use it as an underpainting. You can do that and then add your painting on top of it. You know, that's what they do in concept art at least. Um, but I've seen as well people in comics, using, let's say, a 3D car and then just trace over it. But you can see it,
Oh,
and that's the point. They are
yeah.
lifeless. You know?
Yeah. No. No. I mean, but that's, you know, and what's strange though is when you're talking about reference, I did a video not too long ago about the Walt Simonson Jurassic Park adaptation for the movie, the comic book
Cheers, by the
adaptation. It was
way.
a four issue series, and there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Prost.
Thank you, Carolina. Pros. Yeah,
I heard it's bad luck to toast with water, but we'll make an exception.
it is. Well, the Italians say it's you shouldn't do it.
Right.
They never bros with water.
Look, one time my father-in-law, he came to visit. He came to visit here in New York, and we had like some. I think we had like some prosecco or something, and I just
Mm-hmm.
cleaned the glasses. I washed them by hand, some like crystal glasses. And he looks down in the glass, and he's like, gotta get the water out of here." There's maybe like a drop or two of water. It's like I'm like, "Oh, you are German, sir. Let me go get it out of here for you, so I can fill it up for you." So anyway, yeah, yeah. So bad luck to toast with water, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I completely forgot where I was going. Oh yeah, the Jurassic Park
Oh,
comics, Walt Simonson.
yeah.
So I know at the time they had reference, and I know they had at the time they had reference for a Jeep Wrangler and like a Ford Explorer for those like for the tour cars, like that was on the
I see.
track in the park where they got they get in front of the T Rex pen and then it breaks out and then it destroys the cars and everything. But then you read the comic and it's like, well, this looks like a station wagon. This doesn't look like an SUV, you know. This and then you look at the Jeep. It's like this looks like a this looks like an Isuzu Samurai or not a Jeep Wrangler. So
I
like,
see.
why did they not get the actual car references? And then the worst part was the proportions. Like they had a I know what happened. They were counting. They probably were. If I had to guess, they were very pressed for time, and they probably rushed some things,
Hmm.
and they missed some things in that book. And one of the things they missed was they had a Jeep Wrangler, and then they had Jeff Goldblum's character Ian Malcolm, and he's like a giant.
Yeah.
It's like there's no way he's going to fit in that Jeep. But then they have this beautiful
Hmm.
drawing of this Brachiosaurus, this big dinosaur, like in the film. But it's like, oh, if y'all would just, you just had to shrink him down. It's like I wish I could take that and shrink it for you, and get it right. But um, that's that was at a professional level. That can happen, but I know they had the reference, so I don't know why they didn't use the reference the right way. Um, I don't know. Sometimes when it's drawn from
Well,
imagination, it's like, oh, I know what a Jeep Wrangler looks like. Well, do you? You know, get the reference. You know, go get the
no,
reference.
that's yeah, you're right. You have to.
Yeah,
Reference is a good thing. You should always get reference.
yeah,
Even in, for your comics, for concept art, for illustrations, whatever it is. I think I think that's also a part of what you said before. When you look at finished art and you don't know the process, how they got there,
yeah.
and you feel like kind of frustrated because you think, wow, how do they get there? How can they paint this stuff? It just, I don't know, whatever, a day. Um, and
What's the
some
workflow?
people believe they, yeah, and some people believe they drew all this, just out of the mind, from imagination, but it's not true. I think
It's a progression,
every
isn't it? It's a
professional,
stepwise
yeah,
progression. Yeah,
and also every professional uses reference.
yeah.
He would never, um, I mean, um, some are able to draw it from imagination if they've done it 100 times, like, let's say Karl Kopinski. He does not need any reference for the stuff he's doing. But if he has to, let's say, suddenly draw, I don't know, a specific animal or whatever, he would look at reference. Of course, he would.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some people believe using reference is cheat, but
No, can't
that's
be.
actually
Can't
not
be.
true.
No, it's not.
No.
You know what was great? Just going back to Dan Lawless again. Did you see in the
Hmm.
video how he broke out the little model heads, the little 1/6 scale
Oh yes,
model heads? I
yeah.
actually ordered two of those. I ordered two already,
Oh
so I
really?
got some coming on the
You
way.
did.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
He's like, I put them
Demi
on the
Killer.
screwdriver, and he has the light, and that's so smart. Why didn't I think of that before? You know, like work smarter, not harder. You know, so
Yeah, exactly. Demi Killer just said 3D blockouts are definitely common, not necessarily bad, especially when used as a way to speed up the process. Yeah, exactly. Just not used
yeah.
as a crutch for your lack of perspective skills.
Well,
Yeah,
I think it's
kind of.
I think the problem is when someone takes it, drops it into a comic book panel, turns it the way they want it, and then they just trace over it and then say,
Yeah,
"I did that." No, you didn't.
yeah,
You know,
that's
SketchUp
right.
did that for you. You know, that's something else. But if you
And
take that
especially in
same model, you
comics.
get the angle you want, have it as a side piece of reference, take a snapshot of it, screenshot, have it on once. If you're working digitally, have it on one screen. You can even with the
Yeah.
tablet, like on an iPad, I use Procreate, so I can
Mm-hmm.
take a picture and send it to my iPad, and then there's a reference function in Procreate where I can have it in the upper corner of the of my canvas, and I can
Oh,
have
I
the
see.
reference right there on the iPad. And if I want to work off the reference, I can do it like that, just right there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You have the same function as well in Paint, by the way. You
yeah,
can actually open a reference window and throw stuff in. I usually use PureRef, which is an awesome
pure ref.
piece of
Yes,
software. PureRef, it's great. Um, Demkiller, oh yes, Demkiller says in the chat, um, oh yes, sure, then you end up with the same feeling as rotoscoping. Yeah, exactly. It looks uncanny, not as organic as freehand drawn. Exactly. And that's why I think, especially in comics, it's a strange thing. In concept art, not that much. It depends on what you work on, but sometimes you want to um, to achieve this super realistic image, and that's when they use 3D for a basic blockout model, for perspective, for a specific camera angle, and they use light, which they can use in their final image, and add like material on top, but hand drawn, of course. Then and all the characters they want to place there, whatever it is, and maybe age all the stuff, and it looks real. You don't see any sort of, oh yeah, there's the 3D model. It's still it looks painted, but to get there and get there quick, they use a lot of 3D. And in concept art, I think it's absolutely cool because even though it's called concept art, some actually point out that concept art is not art. It's actually working on products. It's product design, even though it uses art, artsy techniques, so to speak. But at the very end, it's about it's product development. Like a movie or a game or whatever it is.
Yes.
It's not so much an art form, kind of, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
So, some concept artists actually point out we are actually product designers, um, and I think that's maybe as well the difference between people who work on, well, comic to me is an art form, definitely comic art. Concept art, not so much. Even though you use the same skills, kind of, as
I
an artist.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting, to see what you're doing here, and then see what you've produced with some of the monsters you've drawn, and I like that stuff too. I know you've done a
Mm-hmm.
couple monster streams as well, so um,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just want
you're
to let
right.
you know I went ahead. I should have done this a long time ago, but I went ahead and shared the link to the live stream in on my on my X profile, on my Twitter profile, and there's
Okay.
actually there's a little chat um, for the creator of the comic Dino King, Liam Gray. I did a
Mm-hmm.
review of his book Dino King, and
Yeah.
he invited me to his chat. So I went ahead and sent the link out in the chat so people could come and check it out. And I urged them
Oh yeah.
to also subscribe to your channel. So hopefully you get some
Wow.
subs. I hope they come your way. Get some more
Thank you so much.
subscribers.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Oh, Dan Killer just wrote. Speaking of reference, let me drop a suggestion. If you want to store local references similar to Pinterest, this is easily the best software around right now. I think I paid £30, and it's one time purchase, no subscription. Um, so, similar to Pinterest.
Well,
Okay,
but
I see.
damn
But
killer 37.
what
What's
is
the
it?
software that you're talking about? We see your comment, but what's the software? But Edge, you use PureRef, right? I
Yeah.
think Clayton uses that
I
too.
use PureRef.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's PureRef exists for a long time now, and but it got pretty good. And you create kind of a canvas, and then you just throw in images, wherever you can get them from the internet. Oh, it's called Eagle App. Um, Demi Killer says,
Eagle
and
app.
then you throw it uh, into PureRef. You can organize it, and you can even save it as a file, resize the stuff in there, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you can actually create huge reference boards, and also it's for free. I
Damn killer. I just checked it out. Eagle app. I just saw it. So I'll definitely look at that.
Yeah.
I'm open to that for sure. Any tools I can to enhance my experience and help me get the best drawing possible. Edge, quick question.
Yeah,
So in the '90s,
yeah,
I don't know if
sure.
this was a big thing or not, and obviously this wasn't your generation, but in the '90s, there were a series of children's books called Goosebumps. Have you ever heard of this before?
Um,
It's like a
not
kids
not
book,
not
but it's
not.
it's like a horror, but kind of not really not too scary, but for kids. Have you ever heard of it?
I'm not aware of the books, but I'm pretty sure I've seen. Is there a movie adaptation
There is.
as
There
well?
is. I think it's with Jack
Yeah.
Black. I have never seen it, but when I was growing up, it was a big thing because what happened was the
Okay.
publisher for Goosebumps, what they did
Yeah.
was they got embedded with the public school systems across America, all the county and state school districts. Uh,
Yeah.
they had book fairs with a company called Scholastic. So Scholastic is a big publisher for children's books, and they
Okay.
do what are called book fairs, where you go and you can buy books at your school library through Scholastic Book Fair. So they release these titles. So Goosebumps
Hmm.
got an exclusive deal with them in the '90s, and they started releasing these books in the book fairs,
Okay.
and it just kind of took off like wildfire. Well, I actually met the artist for Goosebumps
Really?
who did the covers. Yeah, hold on, let me get this real quick.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So I
And
got
thank
a
you, Demi Killer, for the link. I will
got a
check it
print.
out too.
Yeah, I got a print of his. So check this out. Um, this is called.
Wait.
This was for a book called Attack of the Mutant, and here it is.
Oh wow. This pink thing in the background is great.
Yeah,
The guy looks great.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
It's not really focusing, is it? Yeah, yeah. That's it.
Wow.
But he had other books too. He did like over 100. His name is
Very
Tim
cool.
Jacobus. He did like over 100 covers. He did the cover art. So some of them were kind of creepy, and
Amazing.
I didn't want like a dummy looking behind me. Like there was a Night of the Living Dummy. It was like a a dummy that a ventriloquist would use. Uh, but it was kind of scary. I thought, well, I don't want that looking at me at night, so I'm gonna get the. I'm doing comic book art. I might as well get the most comic book thing I can get, which is this cover, this Attack of the Mutants. So
So speaking of comics again, um, so at some point on your journey, where do you see yourself, like more in penciling or inking, and also whatever it is, penciling full pages, or
yeah,
because some really want to approach the market, just as cover artists,
yeah.
you know.
No, I think I wanted I you definitely have to be able to do interiors. I want to be able to do the sequential art, tell the story.
Yeah.
Uh, I think yeah, a lot of people they just want to do covers, but I have a story in mind. So if you have a story, then you want to do the sequentials. So that means you got to draw interiors, you got to do your layouts, put in your various panels, and start telling that story. So uh, I
Mm.
think I'm probably, if I'm being honest with myself, I'm probably 5 years from doing something like that. I think,
Uh,
and
I believe 5 years is quite a long time.
it is a long
In
time.
in 2 or 3 years, you can actually develop a lot of skills,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that
but you
might
also
get you
have to
there.
build up
And
your platform. Like you have to have a platform
yeah,
to
of course.
crowdfund to get
Yeah.
to produce a book. It's like I could draw until the cows come home, but if I can't get the backing for a project, then I
I like that phrase till the cows come home.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah. That's one thing.
yeah, great.
I you know I remember after I graduated
Hmm.
college, and this is I'm kind of I know I'm kind of being a bad guest and I'm breaking the subject, but after I
No.
graduated, I lived in Germany for a few months, and that's one thing that started to slip with kind of, because of course most Americans only speak one language, and that's English or bad English, and
Hmm.
we don't really have, I don't really speak any other languages, so it's just kind of cool that, your English is fantastic, by the way, but that's beside the point. Um,
Thank you.
yes, it is. So all of my German friends, even if I would try to speak German, no, just let's just speak English, okay?
Hmm.
But what I noticed was my colloquial language, like things like that, just little things like that, like until the cows come home or whatever.
Hmm.
Uh, that kind of started to go away because the people I was speaking with didn't have that, or it wasn't. They do, but they have the German version of that, and they
Yeah.
reproduce it
Yeah.
in English. So if I wanted to rededicate myself to learning German, I would also want to learn the colloquialisms so I could use that in my speech. You know,
I see. Yeah. Yeah. Of course. That's right.
like well, it's the one of the ones I only know. One of the few that I do know in German is Vincent Denschen, right? And that's very apropos, right? For what we're talking about. If you're going to do
Correct.
something, do it, right? That's
Mm.
what that means, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. They say, yeah, if you want to do it right
do it right.
and go for it. 100%. That's exactly what it says.
I learned that
Yeah.
from
Venture
Arnold.
tension.
I learned that from him
Oh yeah.
because he said that. He said, "Oh yeah, if you're gonna
Venture tension.
if you're gonna do something, do it. If you're gonna
Hmm.
pursue a dream, really do it." And then he said Vincent Dention. So yeah,
Great. So he has done something good then.
I like how you've added the railings in here, Edge, and you've it's like you've got this oxidized look to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. First I was going for some kind of bright orange, but no, I think
Well, you've got that kind of orange yellow on the on the
on the
on the
pots, right.
pots. That's right. So that looks really good. And then you've got your railings.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
So
is great. I mean, I can see what happens next. The Colonial Marines are going to get out of these pods. They're going to go down to the cafeteria on the Nostromo, complain
well,
about how they
some
don't like
sort of.
cornbread and what is this
Um,
crap, it's cornbread.
well, I can tell that at least one wakes up. So
Yeah.
that's a spoiler. Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice.
Most of them will keep sleeping, but one wakes up.
What's that? There's a movie with it's not a serious science fiction movie.
Hmm.
It's sort of a comedy. It's with Chris oh god, what's his name? Not Chris Evans. Jennifer Lawrence is in it, and god, what's his name? What's his name?
Oh, is it? Yeah,
Passengers.
no, he might.
Passengers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
the
yeah,
guy wakes up, he's the only one to wake up on the whole ship, right?
exactly. And then he wakes up another passenger,
Yeah, because
and tells
he doesn't want to
her,
be alone. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Chris Pratt. That's right, Chris Pratt. I don't know why I couldn't think of Chris Pratt's name, but yeah, Chris Pratt. He wakes up. Yeah,
exactly.
and then they have this other
But
movie which is darker. What is it? It's like called Pandorum. Have you ever seen that?
oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
actually a great movie.
it is.
It's pretty old already, but I like it.
Yeah, all those
Yeah.
like dark, edgy space science fiction films. Whether it's
Hmm.
Alien, Pandorum, even Event
Yeah.
Horizon. Those are like they have their special little
Event
place.
Horizon was great too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Some pretty cool design in that
And
movie.
and Pandorum starts exactly the same, right? This guy wakes up and he has no idea where he is, and isn't that
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
because
you're talking about the
I believe so.
Pandorum of the Passengers. Very similar. It's just
Yeah,
Pandorum is like the
yeah, in that
darker
way
version
they
of Passengers. Of the Passengers.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But I think Pandorum gets really wild, at
yeah,
the
yeah.
end of the movie.
It does get
Pretty
wild.
wild. Yeah.
They've got a new
Yeah, but I liked it.
they've got a new Alien movie coming out. Have you seen the previews for that?
Not yet.
Yeah, I know
Oh,
it's been kind of a hit or miss with some people.
okay.
Um, some people didn't like Prometheus. I liked it. I thought it was kind of a
I
cool.
liked it too.
Yeah, because
Oh
it's
yeah.
yeah, because you're getting into human origins. You're getting into all right. Well, how did we get here? Who
And
made us? All that cool stuff. So
and there was another one following Prometheus.
Alien Covenant. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I think I didn't like this one that
they were
well.
trying to bring it back to formula. They were trying to bring it back
Exactly.
to.
Yeah.
And then Danny McBride was in that movie, and I thought, "Ah, can I take
Hmm.
him seriously in an Aliens movie? He's kind of a comedic
Hmm.
actor, but he wasn't the problem with it. I just I don't know. I think maybe they made it about Michael Fassbender's character, and like what he was
Hmm.
doing, and
Yeah,
they
exactly.
kind of you didn't learn more about the engineers and all that. They kind of capped that off. So, but yeah, I think I do prefer Prometheus over the Alien Covenant movie, the
Yeah,
second movie.
me too. I agree.
One time I actually got to go. I went on a trip. I was in London and I took a train from King's Cross in London, and there's an area in King's Cross where it's like it's like the Harry Potter portal or something. I know nothing about Harry Potter. I'm sorry to say, I'm not a
Hmm.
Harry Potter guy, but people were taking their pictures left and right next to this like hole in the wall where like Harry Potter jumps in there.
I
Apparently,
see.
it's like a place of
Okay.
Harry Potter cultural significance. I don't know. They would know, but I don't know. So I get on the train. I walk past that, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I walk past that, get on the train, took a train up to Edinburgh, Scotland, rented a car. Took me about 20 minutes to get used to driving on the other side of the road. Right, got that done,
Yeah.
and then just did a trip through the Highlands of Scotland. I went to
Oh wow.
Glencoe and these different locks. Went to Loch Ness, but I also went to the Isle of Skye. And in the
Hmm.
beginning of Prometheus, there's a scene where they make this archaeological discovery where they're on the Isle of
Yes.
Skye and they go into this cave and they see the
Oh.
engineers and their like cave paintings and everything. Well, you can
Hmm.
hike up there. Like it's like, oh, I'm gonna go hike up to the top of this thing, and it's
Really?
yeah, it was pretty. It was
That's cool.
yeah, it was a cool trip.
Yeah.
But Loch
I
Ness,
mean,
like they
it's
have
cool
kind of a
to
gimmicky thing there with
cool
the
to see the original locations. So
yeah.
was it last year? No, maybe I don't know, 2 years ago or whatever. I visited Lake Como in
Yeah,
Italy,
yeah.
in the north of Italy, where they actually shot some Star Wars uh,
Episode 2.
shots.
Yeah.
Episode 2, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a beautiful lake.
Yeah, it is. It
And
is. I've
they,
never been, but I've seen pictures of it and I'd love to go. Um
yeah, beautiful.
mhm.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool to actually see the original location and know, okay, that was in that movie, and how much they changed it.
Damn Killer 37 Arrival was a great movie. That's with Natalie Portman, right? Are we talking about that one?
Um,
I think so.
say it again. Which one?
There's a movie called Arrival. Yeah.
Oh, Arrival.
No, no, no. That's not with Natalie Portman.
Um, no. But
That's
you
Jeremy
mean called?
Renner and Amy Adams. Yes.
Is it Arrival?
Yeah.
Isn't Arrival the movie? Where these huge eggs arrive on Earth, and they and
Well, that's Cocoon, I think. It might have a different title.
uh,
It might have a different
oh yeah.
title than in Europe. Sometimes it happens.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right.
But I was thinking of a different movie called The Arrival with Charlie Sheen. He's like a
Yeah, that's a very old one, right? Yeah, I know
it's
this
not a
too.
great one, but it's kind of like it's kind of a schlocky
It's
guilty pleasure, to watch
yeah,
Charlie Sheen kind of do crazy stuff. So,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, he's like he's a scientist and
Hmm.
You know, the aliens are really controlling the government, so they cut his funding so he can't investigate. You know, and
Yeah.
he says, "I've made the greatest discovery in the history of mankind, and you're firing me for it." Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen it.
yeah,
But it's but long ago.
yeah, yeah.
It's a pretty old movie. Yeah.
From the '90s. Yeah,
Hmm.
the '90s had some good
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
A lot of good stuff. I remember seeing like a Stargate in the theater, and that was good.
Yeah, I
Um,
see.
with Kurt Russell. Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's a German director
was
made that movie. Roland Emmerich. He made that. I liked
oh
Roland
yeah.
Emmerich's stuff in the '90s. Once he got a little too carried away with some of the other movies later on in like the 2000s, the 20 teens. You know, like a lot of CGI, and it was just too much. But you know, his first Independence Day, it was fun. You know, I liked
Hmm.
Stargate. Um,
Oh yeah.
I don't know other movies he's done, but he's really
Emmerich.
he makes big
Yeah.
big movies. You know, um,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Did he do? Oh, I'm not sure. I always confuse him with another one, with another guy who did 2012.
Roland
Do you
Emmerich.
know?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, he did 2012, and yeah. So
Okay.
Dam Killer 37. It's about alien spaceships that land on Earth, and a linguist tries to decipher their language. It's a Denis Villeneuve movie. Yeah, no, I've seen it. I like it. It's good. It's a good movie. Um, I might have to watch that one again though. I think I only saw it once, but I remember liking it. Trying to think, what else was I thinking about? Yeah, no, that's a good one. Oh, but you know what I did like? Okay, so yeah, Denis Villeneuve. Yeah, he made Blade Runner 2049, and then he made the Dune movies,
Oh, yeah.
the Dune remakes. Yeah,
I see.
I guess you'd call them remakes.
Exactly. Um.
Technically, it's a
Yeah.
remake.
Technically, it's a remake, right?
Yeah.
I've been a huge fan of the old original movie.
Oh, me too. David Lynch's Dune.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
I think
amazing.
Denis Villeneuve. It's well executed, but to me, I still prefer the David Lynch version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. You know,
I even
when
like the prologue. Like there's an extended prologue on the
oh
David Lynch
yes.
version where they
Yeah,
get
I
into the
know.
Butlerian Jihad, and they have like the painted illustrations, and they just pan the camera on the illustrations, and they have sort of a the prologue about the Dune universe leading up to that point, the year
Yes, right.
10,191. And then they talk about, you know, everything leading up to that and the different houses, House Atreides, House Harkonnen.
Hmm. And you mentioned uh, the it takes place in what was it, 10,000
In the year
something?
10,191,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
And when I watch when I watch the new movie, you know, the language and how they interact with each other, you know.
They changed things. Yeah.
I they change things a lot. You know, they and in the old movie I really get the impression, okay, they are, you know, I don't know, 8,000 years in the future, and they have a different style to talk with each other. They interact differently, um, and I think that really came across.
Yeah.
But in the new one, it was like I don't know, sloppy language. You know,
Well, all the great lines that you wanted to
choking.
hear, right? You wanted to hear. I didn't want to hear a subtitled version of "Long Live the Fighters." I want to hear the actors say it either in
Yeah,
English or whatever, you know, whatever language it's going to be dubbed into. Not, I don't have to
yeah.
read the subtitles to see that. And then they kind of changed how they pronounce the different houses. Like in the new
Hmm.
movie, they say Harkonnen, but I prefer Harkonnen.
Oh, Harkonnen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, things like that. You know,
It,
little changes. It's kind of I can look past it, enjoy it for what it is, but I still do. I prefer the original 1984
Yeah,
version of the
me
movie,
too.
even though it didn't do well at all at the time. But it's to me, it's a cult classic.
That's
You
true.
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
But Damn Killer's saying, "I love the new Blade Runner. Beautiful." Yeah, I liked it too. I did like Blade Runner 2049. It didn't. It
Yeah,
didn't change the previous movie in any way, so that's why I liked it. It was a different. It
right.
was kind of a continuation of the story. And then he says, "I've yet to see any of the new Dune movies. I just want to read the books first. Ready on my bookshelf. Just need to get around to." Well, let me tell you how I did it. Okay, so I didn't read the books first. I saw the David Lynch film first. Then I read the book, and I have a nice 1964 book club copy, hardback cover on my bookshelf behind me of Dune. It's got a nice map of
Mm,
Arrakis on the sleeve and everything, and inside the book, it's nice. And yeah, it
wow.
did kind of taint a little bit. Like when I'm looking at when I'm reading about Paul Atreides, I do see Kyle MacLachlan. It's just Paul Atreides as I'm reading it, but the writing is so good. Frank Miller, not Frank Miller, Frank Herbert,
David Clint. Oh,
Frank Herbert, the
yeah.
author of Dune, you know, you get into the story, and it's one of the fastest novels I've ever read because it went by. It just it flew by. It just kept going, and it was a great read. And you know that happens with comic books too. Like if I find a comic book that I really like, it's over before I'm ready for it to be over. You know, but I have a comic book that it's like okay, I picked this up at the comic shop. I have an obligation to read it because I paid for it. You know, maybe I won't get issue number 2 or I won't get issue number 3, and maybe it's a slog for me to get through it. But you know when you've got a good comic when you go through it really fast and you're like, man, it's
Yeah,
over. I want to find out what happens next.
yeah,
That's when you know
yeah.
you got a good comic.
That's right.
Yeah. Same with books too. You know. Yeah. But that was my experience with Dune. I haven't read Dune Messiah or the other Dune books. I think I have Children of Dune, but yeah. But and I, you know, speaking of Blade Runner, that's based off of the writings of Philip K. Dick. He was a science fiction author. And
Hmm.
have you read any of his books before, Edge?
No, I haven't. No.
It's a little eccentric. It's there is some sort of like acid trip aspect to it because he was like he was a you know he did have the influence of drugs, the psychotropic drugs, and you know he comes across in his writing. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's
Hmm.
just you have that consideration in there when you're reading it, and it makes more sense. You know. But now I have a couple of his books. You know, and I've read a few of his stories. I've read like Blade Runner is based off of the book "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep,"
Oh yeah,
and
know that
that's a
one.
good book. You know, it's an idea of the big cornerstone with his work as a writer is questioning reality. What is real? What isn't real? You know, um, like there's in Hollywood has really mined a lot of his books. So Blade Runner, uh, the Paul Verhoeven movie Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's based off of a short story by Philip K. Dick. Minority Report,
Hmm.
Steven Spielberg and Tom Cruise. That's a Philip K. Dick story. Um, there's other ones too, you know, but they've really mined his work and produced some pretty good movies out of it. But um, yeah, so he's another writer that I like to read. Sometimes I think he's misunderstood, you know, for the reasons I mentioned. But
Hmm.
well, Damn Killer, you've got to read the Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldridge. That's a good book. It's called The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldridge. I have that on my shelf, I think. Hold on, let me get it. It's right there. I'll get it for you. Hold on. Yeah, here's the book right here. It's called The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldridge. So it kind of takes place in like a dystopian future. And the back of the book says, "This is an illusion. You're Sam Reagan, a colonist on Mars. Make use of your time of translation." And there's all this like corporate stuff that happens, and um, this is the cover of the book, but there's like a lot of corporatism in the future and everything. But it's cool. It's a good story. And there's like this company that makes a drug. It's called Candy, and like they have,
Candy.
yeah, they have exclusive rights
It's
to
pretty
it,
cool.
and you know, there's extra Terra colonies, all that great classic sci-fi stuff. I would say he's up there with like Asimov, um, Bradbury, uh, Robert Heinlein,
Oh, yeah.
Arthur C. Clarke. Definitely. Oh, you do? Read it. It's good. It's a good book. Damn Killer, The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldridge. You just got to bear in mind, it's like an acid trip, start to finish. So if you read it that way, you're gonna be okay, and you can get a lot of enjoyment out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like how you've added some additional color and lighting into the head section of those pods. You can really see the figure in there now. Edge, it's looking good.
Yeah.
I
Thank
watched you
you.
do the screens too. Oh, neat.
Yeah, I think I will not finish it today because unfortunately we have already 2
No, but you've
a.m.
been going on for a pretty long time now. So
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I guess in a couple of minutes we have to finish the stream. Unfortunately,
yeah,
I could go for the rest of the night, to be honest. But tomorrow is a special day because I really have to get up early. I think I have to get up, I don't know, 6 or 7
oh right. Well, it's Friday,
a.m.
so yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah. Here it's. I mean, I'm okay with a couple of hours of sleep, but 6 it should be. Yeah, yeah. So
Nice.
um, anyway, James, it was a great pleasure.
Yeah,
It was a
thank you.
blast to
Thank
have
you
you
for
here.
inviting me and
Absolutely awesome.
working out
Well,
the
we should do
kinks.
that again.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And yeah, I
Yeah,
will do everything I can to try to direct people to your channel. I think people should see what you're doing, watch your process, and just it's really I get a lot of enjoyment out of watching your streams and seeing you bring a piece further and further along, closer to completion, the and polish and that finished look that you're getting, and it's really coming together. So
thank
great.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, sometimes I should actually flip the
Flip
camera.
the
So
canvas. Yeah.
yeah, I forget that so often. Uh, looks okay. um,
Do you find it's more of an
yeah,
issue? It's more of an issue with your figures though, and less of an issue when you're doing environments, right? Because you got your perspective grid, so in theory, you should edge
yeah,
when you flip a
exactly.
canvas like that. So it's
I think I got off a little, but that's no problem. You know, you can actually, with Liquid, a tool that Photoshop has as well, you can push things a little.
yeah,
Um, but as I said, for this stage, that's okay. And so I don't have to get too crazy with this one here. I will put it on here just to have these two together. Okay. So well, my plan was to do a couple more sketches, but you know, it was so great to talk to you and just doodle on this piece. So
Well, you know, if
I
I can keep
totally
you company
forgot
in the
about it.
future, let me know. It's great to see you draw, and if I can give some banter while you do what you do, you got a lot
Yeah,
done. You got a lot done there. So
we should do that maybe on a regular basis. It was
I'll think of more
we will definitely do it again.
I'll think of more things
That's
to
for
talk
sure.
about. Maybe throwing some more comedy and humor in there.
Yeah,
Get
yeah,
some more laughs in there.
yeah. And maybe you know, do other stuff as well. You know,
Yeah.
look at some of our favorite comics. You know, maybe I pull out some European stuff. You know, that is not so well known, I
They
guess,
got me.
over there.
I'm still reading Blood Hunt. I haven't read it yet. I picked it up yesterday. So
Okay.
Marvel's doing this big Blood Hunt campaign right now. So it's
Mm-hmm.
vampire summer, as they say.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Okay. Well, great. Show me again. I need
yeah,
the big
yeah,
picture
it's
to
a good
see it.
cover. This is Blood
How
Hunt
is it?
#4.
Ah.
It's all around Blade, and there's like a conspiracy with Blade, and
Oh yeah.
you know
Ah, okay.
that's what's in the shops now. So, but this comic was in a
That's cool.
poly bag, and they sell
Mm-hmm.
two different versions of this. They sell this version, which is like an edited, censored version, quote unquote, which they charge like $1
Yeah.
more for, and then they have the regular version of this. And so the difference is there's just a little more blood, a little more violence maybe in this one. It's like, well, you want the best of the best. I don't want the watered down version. Give me more blood, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
It's pretty cool.
yeah, no, it's a decent story, you know? I was worried they were going to kind of mess like vampires and the Avengers. Okay, but they're making it work. It's working so far. So hey, I mean, I'm not gonna be one of these people that are, you know, if you tell a good story, you tell a good story. Okay, you can't just. I'm not just gonna boycott them. You know, I'll give them a shot, and I'm in the comic shop regularly, so I get to check out and see what titles they have, and you know, so I'm glad I kind of got into this because it's been a good story so far. It might be something that people might want to check out when the trade paperback comes out so they can read the whole story, you know, if you don't want to
Hmm.
collect the individual single issues. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that a thing that is it pretty common? You know that they release
They do like these campaigns.
hardcover. Yeah.
Oh, you mean
No, I mean the collection of
the
all the
trade
individual.
paperbacks? Oh
Yeah.
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 So generally when a
Oh,
run
okay.
is completed, they'll Marvel, DC, or whoever, they'll release the trade
Yeah.
paperback
Oh,
versions of it,
okay.
and it might be multiple volumes depending on how big it is. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I think it's Skybound.
Mm,
It used to be Hasbro, but now it's Skybound. I think they're doing
okay.
a Kickstarter campaign for the GI Joe comics. Now I don't read GI Joe,
Oh.
but
Mm-hmm.
it's uh it's like $300 for one book. They have two different versions of
Wow.
it, and it's about as thick as a phone book, okay, an old school phone book. One of these comics, and it's a compendium of all the GI Joe
Yeah.
stuff. And
Oh,
they
okay.
sell two versions. They sell like the Cobra Commander version, and they sell the GI Joe version. So there's going to be people out there who are like completionists. They're going to pay $600 to get both
Unbelievable.
variations of the
That's
same book.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't spend $600 on that. And I don't want to. I don't even read it.
No.
And even if I did read it, I wouldn't do it because it's insane. But that's on Kickstarter,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen people selling these compendiums on eBay, and you know, no, I would not pay that much.
Yeah,
Really not.
yeah. No, that's too much.
I think I would. I was looking for. I think I was looking for Hellboy compendium. There are a couple. They are okay. Um, in regards of the price, but still, if you want to have them all, you have to pick a couple of $100.
Yeah. So what is?
Yeah.
I mean, do they have comic book shops in Germany? I mean, maybe in the bigger cities, right?
Yeah.
Like in Berlin.
Uh, well, they used to have bookshops actually everywhere,
Yeah.
but as so many other small industries or businesses, they were pushed away from the market,
Yeah.
and we in the town where I live, and it's not a big city, we had, I don't know, 10 years ago, there were still, maybe 15 years ago, still 5 comic stores plus a second-hand store, or at least 2. Huge shop actually, where he sold new books and used books, from the last, I don't know, 50 years, and they're all gone.
Wow.
So there's just one huge store here in the city. Um, they sell everything, all books and lots of other stuff, and they have 3 shelves, with comics.
Yeah.
2 are manga, and 1 is for Western comics, and it's almost empty.
Wow, that's sad to hear.
Yeah, so
I mean,
yeah, it is.
I think I'm pretty fortunate. I'm one of the perks of being in New York is there's
Yeah,
multiple comic book shops here. Like this is like the mecca of comic book shops
yeah.
in New York City.
That's where it all started, kind of,
Right,
right?
right. So,
Yeah,
I go to Midtown
yeah.
Comics, and the original Midtown Comics was in Times Square. And that's like a 3-story comic book
Wow.
shop, 2 or 3-story comic book shop. So,
Yeah,
like
I see.
every week you get the new releases, they still have agreements, I guess, with the big studios or them, DC,
Mm.
Marvel, and you even have companies like Dynamite. Dynamite makes like Red Sonja and
Oh, okay.
Vampirella, and then you
Yeah.
have IDW. They did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They still make Turtles comics. I picked
Mm.
up a Star Trek comic from IDW this past yesterday, actually. So yeah, I mean, you
Mm.
get a wide helping and variety of stuff, um, but they do have some manga on the shelves. Yeah, I would say
Mm.
manga, like at the comic book shop I go to, it's maybe 10-15% of what's on the shelf. The rest, it's a long
Okay.
shelf. It takes up an entire wall of the store, and it's mostly Western comics. And you can go find back issues, and they have multiple rows of where you can get trade paperbacks, so you can get the whole series of whatever
I
run it
see.
is you're trying to get. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, and
pretty
and you
lucky
have
to be
Comic
doing that.
Cons everywhere, right?
Yeah.
um, Dem Killer says, I picked up a Möbius book. Oh wow, recently from an online store for a good price. Said it's out of stock everywhere. It was out of stock. Already people doing 4 times markup. Got an email that they are coming back, just reprinting. So I'll have it in like 3 weeks. Yeah. Yeah, you have to search for stuff. Online you find a lot of
Yeah.
things. I actually buy most of my stuff online, and even used books, if they're in good condition. Um, I actually want to read them, but I also try to keep them in good shape.
You bag and board it
But
when you're done.
some,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Um, and I have a couple of Möbius books on my shelf as well. One which is definitely one of my favorite books is the how do you call it? The Hermetic Garage. Is that sound? Does
The
that
Hermetic
sound right?
Garage.
Yeah. Uh, I have the German version here, but I think you get an English version too, and I think it's called the Hermetic Garage. It's this is such an awesome book. I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
Well, And by the way, it's not black and white. That's just my camera, you know. So let me see. So here it is. This is Möbius, the Hermetic Garage. And it's awesome. This is the book I love most. Yeah, from Möbius. And I owned it 3 times, you know. So the first one I think I borrowed to a guy and I never got it back. The second one, I have actually no idea how it disappeared. That's a sad story I will tell at a different day. So it's the 3rd time that I bought this book.
Is that
I was pretty happy.
that's that's issue number 2, right?
Yeah, there's one book. It's actually there are 2 of this one. So the first one, I don't know.
Wow,
It's
it ain't
just
cheap.
called.
That ain't cheap. Like I'm looking at
So,
Mobius number 3 of the Airtight Garage.
yeah,
Airtight is the
yeah.
same. It
Oh yeah,
hermetically sealed is means to make something airtight. So they just
yeah.
changed the title in
Oh,
English, I
okay.
guess. But Airtight Garage, Collected Fantasies, $150. Yeah,
$150.
$150,
Wow.
and it's not even in a.
And
It's not. It's not even slabbed. They don't even have this thing in a slab. It's
oh wow.
and it's not in great shape either. So it must be very rare. It must be rare.
Well, and you said it's number 3? No.
Mobius 3, yeah, the Collected Fantasies
Oh,
of Jean
Möbius
Giraud.
3. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, that might be a special version, maybe.
From 1987. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I think this one, the one I have here, I think it originally was released. I don't know. You said 97?
1987. Yeah.
1997, yeah. That was when it was originally released. Here in Germany, the first one was released in 1990, the one that I have here. And
was it
I
like
don't
a
know.
6 issue? It was a 6 issue run, right?
I think here in Germany there were just 2 books of this story and then a couple of other single releases, but so maybe they reordered or restructured this series, you know. So there are lots of versions available in the world.
Because there's
actually.
there is a
So,
6 issue. There's 6 issues right now on
okay.
eBay for $20 in New Hampshire.
Wow.
I might have to get this. Edge. I might have to get this.
They had it's whatever, even if it's
called the
even
Elsewhere
if these are
Prints. Have
some
you heard of that? Mobius's Airtight Garage, the
no,
Elsewhere Prints. It's a different
no.
comic.
I'm pretty sure they just reprinted it a couple of times. So you might get them pretty cheap.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter, you know, the story is great. You know, I wouldn't buy I didn't buy this here for the value or for money. I just wanted to have it on my shelf again, you know, because I got lost of 2 of them, and I was really missing it, you know, so I couldn't sleep without this book on my shelf.
I understand. Yeah. Yeah.
Some more. Yeah, and as I said, there are many versions of his books. I think the one that was released here was just 2 books. The first one was, I think, just Major Krubert 1, and the second one was Major Krubert 2 with the title The Hermetic Garage or The Sealed Garage or whatever. What was the title?
The Airtight Garage. Yeah.
Airtight Garage. Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Super great book. If you get a hold of it, get it. It's a great story, and I think when Möbius worked on this story, I think they used some substances, I guess. It's it's such
Yeah,
a confusing story,
I'm
you
sure
know,
they did.
and
Yeah.
they did it on purpose, you know, confuse people. So on almost every page you have in the upper corner, it says what happened before. You know, I'm pretty sure he couldn't remember what he has done a couple of pages before, but it's such an awesome book. It's a classic, you know,
I'll have to check it out. So
and
what's the
yeah.
subtitle of it? So it's the Hermetic Garage, but what's the subtitle to it?
Um, no, actually, the main title is Major Krubert, and there's a Major Krubert 1 and Major Krubert 2, and I'd say the subtitle is actually The Airtight Garage.
Huh. Because I'm
Yeah,
seeing the Elsewhere Prince. I wonder if that's a different book. It's got to be a different book. Yeah.
yeah. I'll maybe have to check that. And
I'll do some research. I'll find out. I'll
yeah,
look into
yeah,
Mobius.
okay.
I'll look more into Mobius and do the research on his comics.
He's definitely, you know, he comes, I think he started as a graphic designer and illustrator, and I don't know, he's one of the everyone in the world knows Möbius, and there's a reason for it because
Yeah.
his storytelling is absolutely amazing, and he also did a lot of work on in sci-fi movies.
Like the
Like
Fifth
I
Element,
think
right? Did he do the concept
Fifth
of it?
Element,
Yeah.
he worked on the first Alien movie as well. I think he worked on the suits. He just did the suit design
Yeah, I think I read
when
that
they,
somewhere.
yeah, and also his super realistic sci-fi illustrations are awesome. And then there's um, he also did a comic series that is you know a western series
He did
which
a
is super
Western
realistic.
series.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. A
I need to get
very
into
popular one.
I need to catch in
Yeah,
to Mobius. I haven't really followed.
but the western series I think was released under his real name Jean Giraud. Um, and it was just the crazy stuff that he used
Mm-hmm.
his name Möbius. So his real name is Jean Giraud, and yeah, yeah, look for it.
I am. I'm gonna check it out.
Okay,
Cool.
so okay, I'm so sorry, but guys, I have to I have to finish it here. So I say it again, it was a real blast. Um, Super nice to have you in here. It was a great pleasure. And also, Demikiller, thanks for staying all the time with us.
It was a
And
lot of fun.
you've been a great help today, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah,
Yes, we couldn't have done it without you, damn Killer 37.
exactly. Yeah,
We would have been up shit creek without a paddle if you had not told us about what we needed to do to resolve the issue. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess we're all ready for bed. In
Well, thank you for sticking
well,
around and
maybe.
helping us out. You're the
So
best.
what's the time? What's the time in New York right now?
Time in
It should be
NYC,
ten
it's
p.m.
8:21
something.
p.m.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be jumping on with Clayton in like 40 minutes. So good.
Oh,
I'll watch the class.
okay.
I don't know. I may not be able to
Oh,
follow directly with him tonight, but
mhm.
we're doing the female figure. You know, I guess the
Oh yeah, the
the
female
anatomy of the
anatomy.
female figure. Yeah,
Yeah.
the diagrammatic view. So
Oh yeah, I see.
yeah, the front view. So I gotta
Okay,
catch up on
guys.
that. But anyway, yep, it was great, Edge. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for letting me come in here. And if you're still working on these pieces, and you
great
want to do a
pleasure.
live stream next week sometime, share the link, and I'll try to bring
Yeah,
some other stuff in here, and we'll make it lively and fun and funny. So
that's super cool. looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, good night, everyone. Good night, James. Good night, Demi Killer, and everyone else who's still in the chat, on the stream. And have a great night, and see you. Well, I think, what is it? Next Tuesday.
All right.
Okay.
Peace
See you
out.
around. Goodbye.